if you're not cleansing properly, it doesn't matter what you're putting on afterwards. I would be making sure that I'm using peptides in my routine as well. I want to tell you, the doctor that I went to in Korea is far better than any doctor respiratory specialist that I'd ever been to here.
Let's talk about smart longevity strategies. As a Gen X mum, founder and podcaster, my days can be long and demanding. That's why I love learning about longevity and cellular wellness breakthroughs that work hard and smart. Time Capsule by Melrose Future Lab is the first TGA-listed all-in-one longevity supplement. It combines 12 clinically backed ingredients in one daily formula to support energy, metabolism, cognition, cardiovascular health, bone strength, and antioxidant protection. Powered by Lipisperse and Verisperse for enhanced absorption, it includes niacinamide riboside for cellular energy, resveratrol antioxidant defense, and berberine to support glucose metabolism. Plus essentials like activated B vitamins, magnesium, vitamin D3 with K2. Because real longevity is not just about one thing. It's sleep, nutrition, mindset, and yes, supplements. It's about everything working together. Time Capsule makes it simple. I am so delighted to have April Brodie on the show. We are both fresh off our Korean experiences, and I thought to myself, is there a better person to invite on the show to talk about K-beauty than you? And I could not think of anyone. Welcome to Ageless Radiance Club.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. It's one of my favorite topics, and I'm so excited that you've been to Korea and we can talk about this.
I know. Right before I went to Korea, I was like messaging April saying, she hot off her facelift, a deep plane facelift in Korea. And of course, every other time I've spoken to you, we've talked extensively about K-beauty. We've talked about your incredible facial, which we'll talk about as well, which is inspired by an ancient Korean method. But I message you and I'm like, what clinics, what products, where do we go? What do we do? So it's such a joy to have this conversation as two people who've just recently experienced the very top echelon of K-beauty. Let's start with you because I feel that your story is just so interesting. And I'd love to know more about, you are a dermal therapist, you're a facialist, you are renowned for your buccal fat therapy, but you took it an extra step, and I would love for you to talk about that.
Oh, the facelift are we talking about now? Or
let's start with you, and then we'll talk about your facelift.
Okay, so we're going to talk about we want to talk about the Golgi. So I had been doing traditional treatments and I had been using a lot of laser. I was one of the first people to use LED in 2000. I was layering treatments as early as in the 90s of layering peels and doing a lot of things that are the norm now. And then one trip in about 2012 to London changed my life. I had a buccal facial, and the girl was...
I called it buccal. Sorry, it's buccal.
It's fine.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And that treatment, they showed you a mirror after the treatment. And traditionally, doing facials, we had never shown clients a mirror. At the hairdressers, they showed you a mirror because you look disheveled after a treatment, or you're red, or if you've had laser. And it was a light bulb moment where I got this instant result, and I was like, hang on, I don't need to use a lot of technology. I can use a technique. And so it began this long journey to learn the technique. I eventually learned the technique, and that opened the door to a lot of different techniques, Eastern European techniques, Japanese techniques. And then what had happened was, around about just after lockdown, so many clients were putting K-beauty on their consult forms. And I was like, this is just a fad. It will pass. And then I'm working with Rationale, and Rationale, of course, had investment from Amore Pacific. And everywhere I turned, it was Korea. I went to the dentist, had my teeth done, and the ceramicist was Korean. Like everywhere was Korean. I'm like, there's got to be something in it. And I started investigating it, and I realized that this isn't a fad, that this is a country of 52 million highly educated individuals that vie to be the best of the best. And that opened the door to me. And I began investigating, and I went there in search of learning a manual technique, which was incredibly, the technique wasn't hard, but to find that technique was incredibly hard. And to get someone to teach you was very hard as well.
So the Golgi facial I've had, and I want to share it with everyone who's listening or watching, the transformative benefits of it. So it is a combination of lymphatic drainage, massage, lifting techniques, and the buccal massage as
No,
well.
I don't do the buckle in that treatment. I
I've had
do
both your
I
facials.
do Eastern European techniques in it, and
Okay.
I laid it with 4 or 5 step Korean cleansing
Yes.
methods that they don't do here, that were very unique to Korea, manual cleansing methods. And because the Koreans value technology and education, often the touch therapy they ignore. They don't put a lot of value on it. And so I had to, it was like it was like moving through mud to find it. There was one, Golgi just means bone therapy. And about, I think maybe 15, 20 years ago, maybe longer, someone came out and they developed a facial technique, this lifting technique, because of course for Koreans have a different sense of beauty to the rest of the world. They like to be super fair, which is good for me. They like a very V-shaped jawline. They
Yes.
like the eyes at a certain width, but they do this V lift massage. And so it was a take on this V lift massage using bone therapy techniques. But there is no set technique. So a lot of people say they'll teach you it, but they don't, and they teach you variations of this technique. So if you go and have these techniques in Korea, it is incredibly painful. Whereas if you were going to have
Oh,
technology,
have you been to a Korean spa? It's like, it is not luxurious. You are on a slab of rock and they are like scrubbing you, washing you, throwing buckets of water on you. You're right.
it's
It's quite
wild.
utilitarian. And, and, but what I experienced with you, and it is a $700 facial. It's, it's a luxurious facial. It's an investment, but it was like a facelift. It
And so
was.
I took the best bits of the Korean and I mixed it with some Eastern European techniques, and I developed this beautiful treatment that I actually have got one more section of it that I've been working on. It'll probably take me another 6 months to work on the next section, which was a technique that I picked up in Japan that I will probably start doing mid next year. It's probably more than 6 months away. Yeah,
Now,
which will add on to the goal key.
you said that you were hearing and you were seeing in the client forms that people are using a lot of K beauty. The most compelling, pilgrimage in Korea, and you will find one on every store, on every street corner. So it's not just these clinics, these mega clinics, because there are buildings with floor upon floor upon floor of clinics, and as we talked before recording, there's the prestige Taj Mahal version, and then there's the takeaway McDonald's version. And they all aspire to deliver the same thing, but it's a very different way of getting there.
A
And
hundred, a hundred, 100%. The Koreans would generally go to that lower. They would tend to go to that lower level because they don't need all the whistle. They don't need all. But as a Westerner or someone from overseas, you really need someone to be able to translate for you. You need people to understand what your ideal of beauty is in your country, so that things don't get lost in translation. Personally, I would rather go to that Taj Mahal type of clinic. But the Koreans that I spoke to, and a lot of Koreans that I'd had meetings with, a lot of them would go. They're happy to go to that lower level clinic. They're not bothered. They're not bothered about that. There's not they believe there's not the level of aftercare that you would see in those Taj Mahal clinics. So we often believe that that's the norm for them, but it actually isn't.
yes, and I think that's a really important distinction to make. Um, I was a guest. The reason I was in Korea is I was a guest of Rejuran, and I attended their global symposium with 600 doctors from around the world. Look, I have to say, I'm a devotee for life. I really was blown away, blown away. But then on the K beauty side, as you would know, there's an Olive Young on every corner.
There's an Olive Young everywhere, and PDRN is in everything. There's a lot of controversy. Does it work? Doesn't it work? but not all PDRN is from is salmon derived. There's a lot that are plant derived. So a blanket it's a blanket statement now. So I think people need to be aware of that. But Rejuran have a complete skincare range, and they have some product here, but not all of that product is available. And I know I had a picture in my stories, and you were like, "Yes, I've been using that. That's the best." It really is a beautiful, beautiful product. And after my surgery, the Koreans they will sheet mask. The surgeons give you the sheet mask, and you will sheet mask from day 7 every single day. I sheet masked right through until about week 6. I was doing it every day, and I had that many Rejuran. I thought, honestly, I'm going to get caught in customs. They're going to think I'm starting a shop. I had like layers and layers of the Rejuran mask because that was the one that I loved the most. I basically used that every single night for 6 weeks. It was incredible. I've
Well,
run out now. I'm so upset.
I I have absolutely every Rejuran product, and as from paddock to plate, I've seen the entire process, and it would be very hard for me to switch out from using it. But one of the things that you said, and I do want to pick up on that, is that just like skincare that we buy in a pharmacy or in a department store or from a clinic or from our doctor, not all things are created equal. And people go to an Olive Young or on Amazon or W Cosmetics here in Australia, and it is quite overwhelming, just the variety and the different key ingredients that are called out in K beauty. And I would love for you, as an expert, as someone who treats women's and men's faces, what are the ingredients and what is the K beauty technology that you believe in, and what is the stuff that you think, you know what, I'm going to leave that at Olive Young and someone else can buy that sheet mask or someone else can buy that snail mucin serum?
Do you know, a lot of it is pretty good. There's not a lot. There isn't a lot that's, to be fair, there's not a lot that isn't great, and a lot of it is just whether you like it or whether you don't like it. There is a lot. I'm not a lover of any of the cleansers. The cleansers tend to be very soapy and sudsy, and they're not great. I don't think they're very good. They tend to put a layer of oil on the skin, and a lot of the oils can be super thin. They don't give a lovely coating on the skin. And then what they will do is they will almost strip the back. I feel like often they'll strip the barrier and then layer upon layer upon layer of product on, whereas we will add in that cleansing process, add a hydration level, and then do lesser steps in between. I'm But most ingredients are pretty good. You have to watch the quality of the ginseng products. Some of the quality, the Koreans will tell you, isn't great. How you find that, honestly, I keep asking them
I
how.
was traveling with Koreans, so I literally asked my host to come into Olive Young with me, and one of the guests, who was a cosmetic nurse who was on the symposium tour with me, she's Australian but Korean, and she was amazing and helped me so much, and would come through and say, don't touch this, get this, don't touch this, get this. You know what I did buy for my daughter, which was extraordinary, and it was on the recommendation of a Korean who very gently and expertly guided me through the aisles, is a fluid that you apply to your blackheads, and it just softens them up, and then you use just a scraper really gently to get them out. And she said that this is like the gold standard of pore refinement, and it really was, and it's super gentle on Lily's skin, and she thinks it's a miracle. Like, she was in my bathroom doing it, she goes, Mama, you just need to see what's coming out, it's amazing. So that was a really great product. One night, all of the Australian doctors and we went to a pharmacy, and we got the Rejurex ointment that
It's
they
very, very good. And they will tell you in the pharmacy, the pharmacist, there's not 12 people working in the pharmacy. There tends to
one.
be one person. It's the
Yes,
pharmacist. So you have to wait your turn.
yes,
And they will say to you, this is medical PDRN, or there's a cosmetic PDRN. So
yes.
and you
Dr.
explain out.
J, the cosmetic, I got that too. But the Rejurex, I was with all the top derms in Australia and all the top doctors, and we all went in and they knew exactly what they wanted. And I, of course, just piggybacked off the experts and we cleared out the pharmacy. I posted a photo on my Instagram at the time, but literally it was like 10:30 at night after dinner. We found this one pharmacy. They all knew exactly what they needed and we got the ointment.
Yeah, it's very good, but not all of them have it, and not all. But the pharmacist will generally tell you this is the medical one. This is the one that you want.
You
Um,
know, it's made by the Rejuran company,
yes, I did.
Global
I
Pharma.
was aware
Yes,
of that.
yes.
There's been a massive thing this week where there's been a lot of counterfeit K beauty products coming into Korea. I don't know if you saw that.
Into Korea or Australia?
No, in Korea.
Oh,
Actually, Koreans have stopped them, and there's a lot that are on certain websites that for Australians to buy. Looks the same, is the same. You need to be incredibly careful when you're buying K beauty, that you're buying it from people like W Cosmetics in Australia. Just be careful if you're buying it off Amazon and places like that, because it's not that Amazon owns those shops that are on Amazon. They're owned. It's a bit like eBay. They're owned by separate people, and there's
oh,
been
I've been on Amazon and their K beauty is elite. It's I only buy from the direct sources, so if it's Medicube, for example, it's Medicube's storefront. Not
Yeah, you're better to buy direct from the storefront. And when I was actually in Korea, I went to the K Beauty Expo and there was a
Mm,
whole Amazon section. It was the most wildest thing I've
so
ever
fun.
been to. There would have been maybe 200 or 300 desks set up for people to be doing deals. There was people from all around the world doing these deals with these products. It was more retail based. It was like what it was the wildest thing I've ever been to, like completely wild.
Um, After the Rejuran symposium, I went to Korea Derma. I was invited to attend that, which was the cosmetic dermatological conference. And that was an eye opener too. But it was really interesting because I think what I was happy to see is that a lot of the devices, a lot of the injectables, a lot of the exosomes are products that we do have in Australia and they have been TGA approved. So we're on track. We're not missing out.
A
Uh,
hundred, 100%. I think people think that the Koreans have their own technology that they're using. They don't. They're often using the same technology as here. What the Koreans do is they'll push the boundaries. I mean, I'm not sure how true this is, but I did read, or someone did tell me that here our lasers are only updated once or twice every year or so, or every 2 years. The programs, the Koreans will have theirs updated because they push the boundaries that much every 2 or 3 months. They
no,
really do.
that's not true because the technology doesn't get developed every
No,
2 to 3 months. So um, the technology is what the technology is, and that gets upgraded globally. Because I've been to the global conferences and I know the device companies. But what I did notice, and it speaks to exactly what you're saying about them pushing the boundaries. I went to two of their top clinics, Mailin Clinic and Maison Privée, which are the ultra elite, ultra celebrity wild. I will talk about that in a second because I want to hear about your surgical clinic. But I would be walking into that clinic, April, and in the hallways, I counted 22 devices just sitting in the hallways. And in the treatment room, there were 16 devices. And whereas if you go to an Australian clinic, the best clinic in Australia, that clinic might have up to, say, 10, 12 devices across the clinic. So they might have 3 or 4 lasers, 2 or 3 lifting or ultrasound or RF devices. I'm talking about one room where the doctor had 16 devices at their disposal for that one treatment. And so they are so, as you said, technologically driven that there's no time for fluff. Like you said, there's no Golgi happening in those rooms.
no, there's no
What
goal.
I saw is that you are sedated and you are literally strapped in legs and arms, and the doctor makes all the decisions as to what treatment you're going to get and
Yeah,
what layering
100%.
you're going to get.
Yeah,
You sign up for a long course of treatment. So at the Mailing Clinic, uh, the minimum is that you do a 3-month
skincare protocol first. So first they work on your skin, and then they work on other elements that you might want. But skin health is really, really, really important to them. And
Yeah.
then they will use the other devices. And at Maison Privée, it was body. They had a whole building just for body,
Yeah.
and then a whole building just for face.
And the doctor does the treatment there. The
Only the
doctor only
doctor.
touches they might have 6 nurses in the room assisting them, wheeling one thing to the other, but
Yes.
you are definitely sedated, and you can be twilighted out, or you can have
I
gas.
had a problem with that. Two things. One, it's not an anaesthetist doing that in the aesthetic setting. It's a doctor. Secondly, to me, it felt like a lot. I didn't leave seeing that thinking, oh, goody, I can't wait to be sedated and strapped in and have 12 treatments done on me all at once. I absolutely think that that's a bridge too far. And that didn't sit well with me. And it's not something that I think culturally an Australian, beauty tourist would want. Um, I understand why they do it, and there's a demand for it, and maybe culturally it's acceptable. But for me, it just felt like really pushing, the boundaries of consent and what's happening and what your body can actually handle. I went and had, I'm on a clinical trial for a biostimulator at the moment, and I wanted to have tox done at the same time. And my doctor said, no, go away, let this settle, come back, we'll inject it. And that wouldn't be the case if, I was at a Korean salon, it would be a Korean clinic, it would be layer upon layer upon layer with lots of invasive aesthetic procedures all at once, and then off you go home.
But interestingly, when you're having surgery, they do not want to give you a general anesthetic. They give you a twilight, which is
Let's talk about your facelift.
with the anaesthetist will give you. They do not like to give you a general, do not, because it's 7.5 hours of surgery, completely different to say Australia or England or America, where it would be a general anesthetic.
It's
Very
really
different.
interesting you should say that, because a couple of the plastic surgeons that I follow in the US, they are advocating for twilight as well, from a perspective of recovery and for the pressure that it puts on the body for such a long time of surgery. April, why did you decide to have your facelift in Korea?
Okay, so a lot of people, when I posted that, I was either going to completely hide it or come out swinging, and it was pretty hard for me to hide it because I'm on social media all the time, and I have to deal with that many clients. And I thought, I'm going to be honest, I'm turning 60. It was my gift to myself. I've been planning it for a few years. I felt that I went to Korea last year and I had some injectables done, and I was incredibly impressed. And it was the most seamless experience. I had one of the top specialists do it, dermatologists do it. And it was at that point in time, I realized it was a whole new world, and their innovation, the technology, their treatments, they're doing much more. Unfortunately, they're doing much more than what they're doing here. I felt that I was better served going there, and it wasn't an easy look. It was not an easy decision, and I'm happy that I did make that decision and go. And it definitely, there was a little bit of cost involved, but it was not total. It wasn't like, I think people think because it's an Asian country, it's a bit like going to a third world country and you get you're getting a third world price. People,
I don't think people think that about Korea. I think it's
if you haven't
definitely,
been to Korea, you'll be surprised because the amount of messages I've
yes.
got, people don't understand. It's a highly educated country. They're world leaders. They're world leaders and they're world innovators. And if I was going to
Yes.
have anyone was going to do it, I wanted to go. That's where I wanted to go, and that's why I chose
And
Korea.
how did you research it? The right clinic, the right surgeon, the right aftercare. Tell me about that, because
That was really
I,
it was.
I'm actually in it. I at my last event big event in Brisbane, I had Dr. Lily Vertek, who's the president of the Australian Society of Aesthetic Plastic Surgeons. I had her speak about the dangers of having surgery overseas.
It is incredibly dangerous, and I think you need. I've had clients that have had surgery here. I've had clients that have had surgery with the best surgeons in America, and things have gone wrong, and you have to go back. They have to tweak it. You have to go in understanding that you may need to go back.
Mhm.
I was fully aware of that. It wasn't like there was anything that would have been a surprise to me. I also wanted to go somewhere where they would look after my health, where I have a very mild lung condition here. The Koreans thought it was an incredible disease, and they elevated it to a whole new level. That's another thing. But I wanted to be somewhere where they would look after my health. Look, anywhere you're going that's not in your home country, it is a leap of faith. Look, you can go to a surgeon here and it's a leap of faith. They might have had a bad night. You don't know. It's a complete leap of faith.
I have a special ageless listener offer. Ready to simplify your longevity stack? Our season 11 sponsor, Melrose Future Lab, is offering ageless listeners 40% off your first time capsule order. Just use the code AGELESS at checkout. T's and C's apply. Offered valid on one-time purchases of time capsule. Only available now at melrosefuturelab.com.au.
And the thing to remember, and I just want to kind of clarify this, and I think you would concur, it's surgery. Just because it has cosmetic behind it doesn't remove the fact that it's surgery. And all the care, and if you were going to get your appendix taken out, if you were going to have a liver transplant, if you were going to have heart surgery, you would go into it with quite cognizant that it's a risk and you need to be
100%.
very, very careful. And I think, I don't want to downplay the importance of you having had a deep plane facelift in another country. And I know how careful you are, and I know how fastidious you are. So I would love for you to share, on what basis you chose to, which you're talking about, why you went to Korea, how you chose your clinic, how you prep, and then how your aftercare went.
So I thought I would be really clever because I went to an incredible dermatologist, and I thought, right, I'm just going to message him because I have a relationship with him, and he'll give me a list of people, and I'll just go to those people direct. So he did give me a name of somebody, and I did approach that clinic. But if the Koreans have a completely different approach to plastic surgery. Are you booking now? There's no wooing. There's no
Are you
wooing.
coming in this afternoon?
Yeah, well, you going this afternoon? Will I make you a booking? And I was like, oh, God, this is way too much. And then I realized at that point in time that I needed to have a middle person that understood the Westerner and what the Westerner needed. So then I asked so many people, and it's pointless looking on Google because the Koreans do not have Google. So anything on Google can often be a paid. They'll say we'll give you 3% discount. They can do a lot of things that we can't do here. Real self, all of those things. I didn't bother with any of those things because I thought I don't know. It's really hard. It was incredibly hard.
So did you go through a broker?
I went through a medical consulting company. I used one company that I felt was the best one that suited my needs. I interviewed about 5 or 6.
Are you happy to share who your company was?
I went with Soul Guide Medical. I really loved them. I really loved the guy that owned it. I loved their approach. I loved that they did a phone consult. A lot of them won't do phone consults. It's completely over email and
What
WhatsApp.
do you mean?
No, there's no phone consult. Like they look at surgery completely different to the way we look at it. It's so different. So I went with them. They gave me 4 or 5 different surgeons. I said to them, look, I want the best surgeon. I want the surgeon that does the most Western faces. There are a lot of clinics that are doing a lot of internationals, but they're doing internationals from Thailand, or they're doing internationals from China. They're doing internationals they're not doing a lot of Americans, and America is a growing market for them, not so much Australia.
When I was checking out of my hotel on the last day, I was in the lobby getting my bags, and there was an American gentleman there, and he was all bandaged up. He just had his facelift, all bandaged up, and he was crying because he was constipated. And he was about to get on the flight, and there was a translator just taking him through his meds and what he needs to do for aftercare and, the things. And she turned around to him at one point and said, I had my eyes done when I was 8. You're going to be okay.
Oh yeah, they have it. They have a completely different. They have a completely different approach. They'll often gift their children for leaving high school. They'll gift them rhinoplasty, or they'll gift them double eye.
Well, that sounds very Iranian to me. So I get that, but at 8, like the translator literally said to him, buck up, sir. Like, I had my eyes done at 8. It's
At 8.
crazy. Yeah,
At
8.
8. Wow, I don't know about that. But they do take this different approach, and, you have. So for me, when I went to Seoul Guide Medical, it suited me. I was offered a couple of surgeons at the hospital that I went to. I chose the CEO. It was definitely not the cheap. It definitely wasn't the cheapest choice. And I still was the last week before I went, the last couple of weeks before I went, everything started to go wrong. All these crazy things were happening, and it was a lot of craziness happened. Things like, oh, you've got this lung condition, you need to get a full report from your specialist to say that you can undergo surgery. I'm like, hang on, you've known this for 6 months. And anyway, it worked out in the end that the specialist that I went to here, he had retired due to illness. I was traveling. Anyway, I went to Korea. I went to the doctor in Korea. I want to tell you, the doctor that I went to in Korea is far better than any doctor respiratory specialist that I'd ever been to here. Like, I was
Really?
like, I would definitely be coming to have a health check here. They was fine. There was no problems at all. I passed for the surgery. I met with my surgeon in the morning. My flight was delayed. I missed my connection flight. I was supposed to sleep overnight, then go to my consult and meet my surgeon. My flight was delayed due to typhoons out of Hong Kong. I had left the airport at 5:30 in the morning and went straight to my consult. Like, honestly, I look like so disheveled. And they said, I was so nervous, and I was like, I can pull the pin. I just kept thinking to myself, I can pull the pin at any point in time here. If I don't want to have this done, I'm an adult. I don't need to have it done. I
Yeah.
met with him, and he had this, I don't know what it was. It was this calm kindness. And I knew instantly that I had the right person. Look, a lot of it is luck. I researched and I looked at every single video. I'd read so much. I'd done so much. There was definitely the only surprise I had with the surgery was the exhaustion. I was so exhausted for about 3 weeks. That was the only thing that came as a surprise with
I
me.
want to ask you something. In your videos, your recovery was, to me, and of course, it wasn't happening to my body or my face. So I'll just say, from the outside looking in, it looked like your recovery was quite expedient. And I
It was
wasn't sure, how long did you stay in Korea post surgery?
2 weeks, 14
Okay,
days, 15 nights post surgery. But my post care treatment was religious. Like, I would be having a hyperbaric chamber at least every day or every other day. I would be having
and what does
LED.
that do what was that doing for the swelling?
It's very good for the swelling, calms
Mm.
everything down. I would have LED. I would have what else would I have? They would do. There was different sorts of LED that I'd never seen here before. And for them trying to explain it to me, they couldn't explain to you what the difference was. It was that they would say, no, this is just the LED, and they'd be like, I've never seen this type of machine before. And then they would do an oxygen based facial. They would do enzyme based treatments. They actually did do facial treatments after day 7. They were actually doing facial treatments. It was a very wild.
Did you have laser resurfacing as well as part of your?
They will not do any laser resurfacing. I wanted to have.
Mm.
I wanted to
That's
have.
quite typical in Australia that you would have, an O2, an oxygen, an O2 facial, like a deep
I wanted to have.
laser resurfacing.
I wanted to have CO2 laser because I had a lot of lines
O2.
across my lip, and of course the Koreans in general, the Asians don't have a lot of lines across their lip, so it's not something that they're used to dealing a lot with. They refuse. They think they were looked at me in horror. Like, you'll be shocked now that you would
Yeah,
do laser and surgery at the same time. It was an absolute no. I said, please, can I have it done? Because they do this in America and they do this in Australia. I
yeah.
had tried to have it done before I left here, but my schedule wouldn't meet with anybody. Like, I just couldn't make my schedule and the specialist schedules align. So I thought, that's fine. I'll have it done when I'm there. They were like, absolutely not. And I thought, when I get there, I'll convince them. 100% zero. They will not do it.
Can I ask you, at any point during the process, did you feel vulnerable that you were in another country with language you can't speak? Because a lot of people can speak English, but not as well as you think. And so I would have thought that, like, being in a highly vulnerable post-surgical phase, that would rattle me, or is it set up for, you know, tourism and medical tourism, and they really have that buttoned down?
I think they had it. I think that I chose the right company. I didn't. I chose the right company. I chose someone. I chose someone that had a lot of English speakers. I always had an English speaker with me at all times for every appointment. If I didn't have my consultant, I had my concierge, my consultant from the hospital. So not only did I didn't just only have my consulting company. I had the hospital that I went to had English speakers. So they didn't just have one, they had several English speakers. So there was always someone with me at every single appointment. I might have walked into that appointment by myself and I would say to them, they would just say to you, in basic English, they can all speak English, but they can all understand English, or
Yes,
most of
I
them,
agree.
but they don't feel very confident speaking it. The
True.
most of the surgeons can speak English. In fact, every surgeon I've met there speaks English, or specialist speaks English. They often just are a bit embarrassed and won't speak to you. But they will often answer if they feel that the translator hasn't answered it correctly. They will answer and say to you, "No, this is what I think."
Going back to your post care and the products, and you said that you were using the Rejuran face sheet masks all the time afterwards. Um, did you have any favorite skincare that you picked up? Because I took an extra suitcase. I just want to let you know. I took a suitcase and I filled it to the brim. And not just skincare. I absolutely love Korean makeup. I love K Beauty for makeup. I bought tinted moisturizers that give you like the most natural velvety finish. I bought maybe 20 tinted lip balms and lip products, cheek products. I, of course, bought the obligatory face mask, but I was also gifted a lot of Rejuran face masks. So I was already, saddled up with my Rejuran. So I wasn't as compelled to buy lots of skincare because I already had the best. But, I'm curious. I'll tell you some of the crazy things I bought, but I'm curious as to what you also bought.
Well, I had a few business meetings when I was there, and and the Koreans culturally gift you a lot of product. So they will come to a meeting and they bring you bags and bags of stuff. And I
Lip
had
balms.
because of the surgery, I couldn't lift. I actually couldn't
Mm.
lift I couldn't lift a lot of suitcases. So I only took. Did I take one or two? I'm not sure about. I can't even remember. I took one or two suitcases. But of course, they were wanting to do business with me, and I had meetings with people. They kept bringing me bags of stuff. I just didn't have the
Samples.
room in the end to
Yeah.
bring the stuff, but they did give me some incredible things. And one of the things that I got gifted was this. I went for lunch and they presented me with this incredible box, like this box. And I undid this box and there's this tiny cream in there. I'm like, what is this cream? And they were laughing. They said, this is going to be,
Colostrum.
no, this is this is going to be the latest thing. This is to lighten your nipple, because of course they are obsessed with everything looking white, and I don't know whether it's purity. I can't, that it's a sign of wealth. They like everything. So not only your face to be white. I'm white for Australia, but there
Not white enough.
no, I'm not white enough. They will wear makeup 3 and 4 shades
Yes.
lighter than them. They
But
will.
strangely, I was able to find the most beautiful tinted moisturizers and wonderful, wonderful sunscreen that was tinted that was my shade. And I'm a lot darker than you. I loved it. I actually can't I've never been able to pick up things in the right shades before. And I strangely enough found them in Korea.
For me, it's the opposite, because I need something with a bit of beige to give me color. Otherwise,
Yes.
I look like the Walking Dead. But for them, they were gifting me stuff, and they were like, "Oh, you're so white." I'm like, "Here," that I would take that as an offense, but they're like, "Wow, you're so white." They were thinking that was incredible. I had a lot of, because hair care is the next big thing.
Yes, I
Scalp care,
totally agree. Scalp
scalp care
care.
is the next is really is the next thing to
Yes,
take off.
you're right.
I must admit, I love the Korean sunscreens, and it's very controversial here because they're not, a lot of them aren't TGA approved. If you do know Korea, though, the Koreans have a very strict and rigid process. So I pick up a ton of sunscreens, and I pick up
I
a
do
lot of
too.
different sunscreens because I'm incredibly oily and I have to be very careful about what I put on my skin. So I definitely have a whole lot of that, but I bought a ton of scalp care,
Mm.
from
Do you know the other thing that I found fascinating is their commitment to fresh breath. If you go into an office in Korea, like they have stands with everyone's toothbrush sitting in the bathrooms. There are mints everywhere. There is mouthwash everywhere in these beautiful little sachets. In Olive Young, there's a whole section dedicated to fresh breath, which I just thought was so wonderful. And of course, you're eating a lot of kimchi and a lot of garlic and a lot of pickles. But I thought that was really interesting. The mouth care, the smile care, intimate
Oh wow,
beauty
that's
was
a whole.
that's
That's a whole.
that's interesting.
That's
That's interesting to me.
incredibly interesting. Even the things like the condoms. I don't know if you saw the condom section
I
in
did.
Olive Young. There was like 50 different sorts of condoms, and I was like, and they did have them in English, and I'm like, wow, it was
Wow.
wild. It was wild. But yeah, intimate care came out of Taiwan. There was a lot of tightening machines that were very big in Taiwan, maybe 15 years ago, and they said that it was due to hit Australia. It
Well,
never.
in Australia, it's been banned. Any of those devices got banned this year. I'm talking about intimate care from a skincare
Oh yeah,
perspective.
there's a ton of that, and I think what that happened is that sort of came off that whole type of. It seems like there's a technology, and then things come off that. But I reckon that
That's interesting.
I
Yeah.
think I think that skew is going to be definitely a much bigger skew. I think that the
So,
scalp care, the intimate care, the breath.
when I was at Korea Derma, I saw that all of the exosome companies, all of the rejuvenation companies, all of the regenerative medicine company would have specifically face, body, intimate, scalp.
Yeah,
So,
I had
and
an
go
I had
ahead.
an exosome company approach me, and it was everything. They had scalp, you're right, body, face, like injectables, like the whole they had the full gamut. It was
That's it.
incredible.
That's it. And when I went to Cosmoprof last year in Hong Kong, the thing that I found the most interesting out of that sea of innovation and products and stand after stand, room after room,
5 days it takes you to get through that. It's like wild.
it was exhausting, but it was amazing. But the one thing that I loved, two things that I loved were both related to intimate care. One was a K beauty product that was kind of presented like um, a tampon that you would insert, and it was um, like serums for your vulva. So it would be hyaluronic acid or vitamin C or vitamin B. Um, so they had that, and they referred to it as the Y zone,
Oh,
which
the
was really
wise one, I
interesting.
love that.
It was so clever, and I thought, gosh, this is so clever and so marketable. And the other product that I saw that I thought was really interesting, and I'm going to do it too much sharing here, was an LED specifically for your vulva, and it has a removable plastic insert that you can wash after each use, but it is shaped just for your vulva, and you put on an LED lamp, which makes perfect
It
sense.
does
But
make sense. It actually makes perfect sense. I don't know whether we'll see a lot of that coming, but we're definitely going to see a lot of
I
LEDs
was
in the bed.
genuinely thinking about it because I have LED masks. I own a total Omnilux machine, and I would always do my face, my boobs, I would go all the way down, and I thought, why not? It's just skin. It's just, of course you wouldn't be rejuvenated from head to toe. And so to see that done as a mask just for the intimate area, it made total sense to me. And to market it as the Y zone, I thought that's interesting. And
Oh,
then
they're
this
clever.
year at
They're
Olive
very
Young, I saw, okay, this is, like you said, scalp is going to be the next big thing. And I think after that, it will be intimate skincare.
agree. I 100% agree, because you can see as the SKUs grow,
Mm.
they start like this, and then there's more and more in that brand, in that whole SKU. But yeah, you could see that intimate, there was virtually not much there last year. Well, I didn't notice it last year, but that was definitely growing, and the breath one was definitely growing. That had definitely grown over the last 12
Totally.
months.
It was really interesting to me. And I liked it from a cultural understanding as well, because it wasn't just that it was available in shops. It was in action in their lives, Every restaurant you went to, not just mints, but mouthwash in sachets, like really taking it seriously. If you went to someone's office, if you went to a clinic, in the bathrooms, there are stands where everyone keeps a box with their toothbrush, with their toothpaste. When we were gifted by Rejuran, we were gifted their beautiful toothpaste. There's an amazing Korean toothpaste brand. Kind of looks like Marvis to me,
Yes,
which is
I know the brand.
it
It
starts
is.
with a B, right?
Yes.
Bruno or but it was gifted to us, and in Olive Young, like again, toothpaste, mouthwash, mints, breath sprays, big category, big category. I want to ask you about something that I have some misgivings about, but I would love to hear from you because it's your area of expertise. I have a problem with glass skin. I think the promise of glass skin, the idealization and fetishization of a prepubescent or sometimes literally childlike skin is an unattainable beauty ideal. And I think it's a slippery slope to self worth, how we feel about, how much we invest in beauty. And so to me, that glass skin ideal is problematic.
It doesn't
And
exist. Let's be clear, it doesn't exist, and the Koreans laugh about it because it's something for the Westerners. It was one article from one journalist that
mhm.
that that coined the phrase that it exploded, and whether it exploded at the time when K beauty was on everybody's minds. I don't know what the answer to that is, but they've traced it back to one particular article. It doesn't exist. The Koreans laugh about it and just think it's for the Westerners. They don't rate that. They don't even rate that as a thing. They'll do things to get for clearer skin, and they'll work for skin health, but they don't talk. If you talk to them, they don't talk about it at all.
Yeah, you're probably right because when I was in Olive Young and I was being guided of what products are best, not once did they guide me towards something that was for glass skin. It was always towards pore health. It was always through about evenness. It was always hydration. Collagen, 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 collagen. All, but you're right. It was never about glass skin. So it must be that that's like a Western marketing
It is
device.
a Western marketing, but it's like the Spicules. They're not big on the
Oh,
Spicules.
that's what I was going to ask you next. I bought a packet.
They're not so big on the Spicules. I remember last year.
Can you tell us first what the spicules are, and then tell
So
us
the
what?
spicules are from a marine sponge, and they're almost like these little spikes, and they call it bioneedling. It's not bioneedling. It's a form of peel, and the Koreans don't call it peeling. They call it scaling. By the way, they don't use that word peeling. They call it scaling. They scale your skin, and there's different levels of this type of peel, and they stay on the skin for up to about 48 hours, and then they drop off. So you get this redness, that you get this erythema like you've had needling done, and it's prickly like needling, but it really can impair the barrier.
That's what I was going to say to you. Should I use it or not? I bought it, of course, because I got
Oh, you've
excited.
got it. I think you've got to do it. I did it, and my face went bright red, my whole barrier impaired, and I spent about a week having to try and prepare my barrier for it. And there was lots of different options at this K Beauty Expo. It was everywhere. But if you spoke to the Koreans, they don't rate it. And I spoke to a dermatologist last year about it. He goes, it's old technology and it's a peel.
Oh, the dermatologist on the trip told me categorically, do not use this. It's going to impair your barrier. Do not use it. Do not use it. But of course, I had to buy it. At least I bought it. At least
Look,
I bought it.
there's a lot of salon treatments that have come out here that are that when they're done by a professional here with the spicules, and it's like having a course of peel treatments. They're okay because you're managed, like you're completely managed. But I think it's very rogue, and you've got to understand it's not a needling technique. It really is it is a peel. It's marketed as a bio needling, but what is bio needling? There's no such thing as a bio needle. It is basically a peel technique. But the Koreans in general don't rate it. They wouldn't use it, and it's something for the Westerners. But it's
And
very big, and it's going to be huge, and there was lots of different ingredients at the ingredients fair apparently with different additives into them, and so I think it will be very big here.
my next question is the role of a lotion. And lotions aren't new. So, we've had it from the Japanese culture for quite some time. And lotions have made their way in as a pre-step to serums. But I noticed in Korea, lotions had made a big impression, and there were, a product is displayed by brand, but also by function, which I thought was really clever in a store. So you could go to the brand aisle and shop the brand, or you could shop by function. So all the cleansers in one place, all the lotions in one place, all the creams in one place. Do you advocate for adding a lotion to your skincare routine?
I'm not a great person of adding a lotion, because I like to be efficient. I'm busy and I
Mm.
like to be efficient. I think if you like, often with the Korean products, they're light and you need to layer them. It's just that we can often get that with two products here. With there, you might use three or four products. Some people love to use three or four products. It's part of their ritual and they love it. And if it works for you, I think incredible. The thing you have to be careful is some of those particular lotions and essences will have, even though they're not supposed to, they do have exfoliants in them. And people go, oh, I used this snail mousse and it was incredible. My skin was great. And then after overusing it and using it 4, 5, 6 days for weeks, their barrier is impaired.
I really hear you loud and clear on that. And I think that the things that I picked up, and I'm going to send a photo to you of what I picked up so you can just vet it before I start, crazily using it. But all of the products that I bought were really hydrating, collagen, and protecting, inducing. That's kind of the path that I went
They're
on.
very good at that. They're very good at barrier repair. There's one SKU, and I don't know whether you saw this at Olive Young, that's completely missing. And you'd be lucky to find 3 or 4 products in the store. There's
Tell
one
me.
whole SKU that in Australia, if we did it by, body part or whatever, there would be walls of it. Eye cream. There is only
Yes.
there's
Oh my God,
only
you're so
I
right.
I said to I walked into Olive Young and I said, "Okay, so can you tell me, I can't find the eye creams. Where are
Beauty
they?"
of Johnson had launched one and it was sold out. But you're right, there was no eye cream. Eye cream wasn't a thing. You're right.
It's not a thing. It's definitely not a thing. They'll use eye removal. They will use wipes to take off their eye removal. I watched this Korean girl. Stood at this stand and watched all the Korean young girls come in, and they use this particular wipe to take their eye makeup off. That they
Mhm.
all love this one particular wipe. The Japanese will use this. There's like a wand, this mascara wand. The Koreans sell it as well, where you can take your makeup off with it. Whether it's just easy and it's faddish, I mean, I'm not quite sure, but there's definitely not a lot of eye cream. They don't use an eye
Oh,
cream.
you're so right. That's a great observation. Do you know, the other thing that I thought was wonderful, and if anyone is listening to this and planning a trip to Korea, is do not sleep on their tools and and beauty accessories. Their sponges, their little
The
puffs,
brushes, oh my
the
god, the makeup
brushes.
brushes, they are incredible. When I was there, there's one brand of makeup brushes, I can't even remember the name of them. They are so reasonably priced. They are beyond incredible. They are so good, but they also have things like, they had these mitts. They were disposable mitts with body peel on them, where you can use them to exfoliate your body, and they're just like 1 or 2 uses and then you throw them out. Like, they have incredible things like that that we just don't have here.
Yeah, I actually thought I was put onto that by, one of my hosts, and she said, don't sleep on the accessories. This is where there's a lot of great stuff. And for example, there was a spatula for your foundation so that you just get the tiniest, sheerest application of foundation. And honestly, ever since I've used that, I've gone, my God, what a revelation. Like, this is a much better way, instead of, you know, blending and blending and blending, just shearing it out with this metal spatula. That was really great. The little latex sponges that are reusable, that was really great. I did buy the toner pads. Did you get into the toner
I've
pads?
got the toner pads, but did you buy the cotton wool, the silk cotton wool from them as well? Oh my god,
No,
the cotton wool's incredible. They've got this
I
incredible cotton
didn't.
wool. They've got the best cotton wool, so good. But I did buy the toner pads, and I bought
Which did you buy? What
I
did you
bought
buy?
the Rejuran. I bought the Rejuran one.
Yes, did
I
you?
bought the toner, the pore one, because my skin was so oily after surgery. My skin was like a slick, and I couldn't put a lot of product on there. For the first week, I had to only use cleansing wipes. I just couldn't use I couldn't use any cleanser. I'd never in my life thought I was ever going to use cleansing wipes, but I did use the Rejuran toner pads, and I bought them. And I think I bought another one. I can't remember if
Medicube.
I bought the Medicube ones. I've had
Yeah, I
them.
did
I've
too.
had them for they're so good.
Yeah.
But you have to be mindful when you're using them, and you have to be mindful of the ingredients that you're using. I think people often will go, oh, I've got a slight oiliness here, and they don't realize they'd be better off to buy hydration more than anything with an active ingredient in there.
Oh, that's really, really good advice. Finally, to wrap up our conversation, if I was to build a perfect little capsule collection of skincare based on your experience and how you like to send people home, what would be the items? Because I think we both agree that a 10-step routine is, first of all, not practical, but secondly,
I've got no
unnecessary.
time. I haven't got time. If you love doing a 10-step routine, by all means, knock yourself out and do it. I think that we've got great products here that can do what 3 steps there might do, you could do it in 1 or 2. You can do in 1 or
So,
2 steps.
not speaking about brand so much, but like types of products, if you were going to send your client off with, a manageable routine, what would April Brodie recommend as a perfect little skincare?
I would use an oil or a balm cleanser. Then I would be using a cleansing lotion. I like a 2-step cleanse. I like a double cleanse, a Korean cleanse, where I would put the balm on or the oil, and then I would put a cleanser over the top of it. Then I would be using some sort of vitamin B for the morning, a niacinamide. I would be using a vitamin C, and then I would be using some sort of hydration, whether it's involved. Sometimes you can buy things that are with those that have got a hydration with them, and definitely a sun product. I am obsessed with sun avoidance now, particularly since I've spent a lot of time in Korea and Japan in the last couple of years. I actually walk along with an umbrella. My husband just walks 10 steps ahead and just thinks I just can't be bothered. I would rather wear a sun umbrella than have a hat, because I don't want the hat to mess my hair up. And then I would definitely be at nighttime. I would be using some sort of mild exfoliant that you use just daily, because I love that in Rationale that they do that daily. I would be using some sort of vitamin A, and I would be using some sort of hydration over the top of it. I would be making sure that I'm using peptides in my routine as
Mhm.
well. I will go on for hours, but I would definitely make sure that the cleansing process is the most important thing to me, and the sun at the end of it. If you're not cleansing properly, it doesn't matter what you're putting on afterwards. You're not prepping your skin properly. It's a bit like baking a cake. If you don't sieve the flour properly, you can use the best organic ingredients in the world, and that cake's not going to rise. That cleansing process is incredibly important. You must cleanse correctly, and then everything you do afterwards just falls into place. And you've got to avoid the sun. It's very hard if you live in Sydney, because Sydney's a very outdoorsy. It's a very
Mhm.
outdoorsy life, and you've got to make the choice. Like, you can wear a hat and you can wear sunblock, but you're never going to be able to avoid the sun. And that for people like me, that really affects my skin.
Well, I am so pleased that we had this conversation. I'm absolutely delighted. Oh my God, we had such Mercury retrograde technical issues yesterday, the day we were going to record this. And April was so kind and so patient. And so I'm happy that we had this conversation. It was wonderful to see you. And if I don't see you before the end of the year, I might even see you in Paris. We're both going to
Yes,
be
I'll
there at
be
the same
there. I
time.
will be there. Have a lovely end of year, and thank you for having me. And I'm so glad that we got this to work, because
Me
yesterday
too.
I am. Anyway, my love to you. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the channel, sign up for our free newsletter, and consider leaving a review and rating it. This really helps the channel grow and reach new audiences.